The hidden cost of working after 60 nobody warns you about. Imagine this. It's Monday morning. Your alarm goes off at 5:45. You sit on the edge of your bed. Nothing hurts badly, but nothing feels easy either. You look at the clock. Then you quietly ask yourself one question. How many more Mondays do I want to do this? 10 years ago, you never asked that question. 20 years ago, you never even thought about it. Back then, work was about building your future. Today, it feels like you're spending your future. And that's something almost nobody talks about. Most retirement conversations are about money, how much you should save, when you should claim Social Security, how to invest, how to lower taxes. Those things matter. But there's another retirement question that may be even more important. What happens when your calendar starts feeling more valuable than your paycheck? Because after 60, work doesn't always become harder, it becomes different. Today, I want to show you why. And by the end of this video, you may never think about working after 60 in quite the same way again. Before we continue, I want you to picture a simple hourglass. Imagine it sitting on your kitchen table. When you're 25, it feels full. At 45, it still feels comfortable. But after 60, something changes. For the first time, you begin noticing the sand. Not because you're afraid, because you're aware. That awareness changes almost every decision you make. And here's where everything starts to shift. The biggest challenge after 60 usually isn't your ability, it's your relationship with time. Let's start with something almost everyone notices your energy. Now, this doesn't mean you suddenly can't do your job. Many people in their 60s are some of the best workers in their company. Experience often replaces speed, wisdom replaces trial and error. You know how to solve problems faster than you did 30 years ago. But here's what surprised many retirees when researchers asked about their final working years. The work itself wasn't always the hardest part. Recovering from the work was a long day that once felt normal now follows you home. You feel it the next morning. You feel it on Saturday. Your body simply needs more time to recharge. Think about charging your phone. When it was brand new, one charge lasted all day. Years later, you charge it more often. The phone still works. It just uses energy differently. People are not phones. But the idea is similar. Your experience grows. Your energy becomes more valuable. And that's only half the story. Something else begins to change. Your patience. Have you noticed this? Meetings that once seemed normal now feel unnecessary. Endless emails, office politics, last minute requests. They don't just annoy you, they make you wonder, is this really how I want to spend one of my remaining healthy days? That's a very different question from the one you asked at 35. Back then, you were asking, how do I get promoted? Now, many people ask, is this worth my time? That isn't becoming lazy. It's becoming clear. Behavioral psychologists have found that as people grow older, many begin focusing less on distant rewards and more on experiences that matter today. In simple words, your priorities change. Not because you've given up, because you've learned what actually matters. Let me show you what that looks like. Imagine two people. Both are 63. Both have similar jobs. Both earn the same salary. The first person watches the clock every afternoon. The second person doesn't. What's the difference? It's not money. It's purpose. One feels trapped. The other feels they still have something meaningful to contribute. That's why two people can have the same job but completely different lives. Money isn't always what keeps someone working. Sometimes it's routine. Sometimes it's friendship. Sometimes it's simply fear of not knowing what comes next. And that's completely understandable. Because retirement isn't only a financial change, it's an identity change. For 40 years, you've answered the same question. What do you do? Your job became part of who you are. Then one day, that answer disappears. That sounds simple. It isn't. Many people spend years preparing their retirement account. Very few prepare for the emotional side of retirement. And that's why some people keep working long after they no longer need the paycheck. Not because they love every Monday, because they're afraid of losing the person they've always been. But here's something I want you to remember. Your job is something you did. It is not who you are. That may be one of the hardest lessons retirement teaches. And once you understand it, the rest of the retirement journey begins to look very different. Because the next challenge has nothing to do with your career. It has everything to do with something far more valuable. The way you begin seeing the time you have left. Think about this for a moment. When you were 30 years old, one year felt small. If something didn't happen this year, there was always next year. At 65, your brain starts asking a different question. How many healthy summers do I still have? That question changes everything. Suddenly, another year at work doesn't feel like 12 months. It feels like one less family vacation, one less road trip, one less Christmas where everyone is still together. That's why time becomes more valuable than money. And here's something that surprised me. Many people don't stay at work because they love working. They stay because leaving feels uncertain. Imagine standing on the edge of a bridge. Behind you is the job you've known for 40 years. In front of you is retirement. You know the bridge is safe. Your financial plan says you're ready. Your savings say you're ready. Your social security says you're ready. But your emotions whisper something different. What if I'm making a mistake? That's a powerful feeling. And it's completely normal. Our brains naturally prefer what feels familiar. Psychologists call this the status quo bias. In simple English, people usually stay with what they already know, even when something better is waiting. That's why retirement can feel so confusing. You're not only leaving a paycheck, you're leaving routines, coworkers, morning habits, a schedule, a purpose you've carried for decades. Let me show you something. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every single day for 40 years. At first, it feels heavy. Years later, you hardly notice it. It simply becomes part of your life. Then someone says, "You can take it off now." Strangely, many people hesitate, not because the backpack feels good, because it feels familiar. Work often becomes that backpack. Now, here's where everything changes. The question isn't, can you afford to retire? The better question is, have you prepared yourself to retire? Those are very different questions. One is about money, the other is about life. Let's meet someone we'll call James. James spent 37 years working for the same company. He saved consistently. His mortgage was paid off. His retirement accounts looked healthy. Everyone around him said the same thing. You've earned this. But every time he thought about retiring, he found another reason to wait. Maybe after one more bonus? Maybe after next year? Maybe after one more market recovery? One more year quietly became three. Then something happened. His best friend retired. 6 months later, they met for lunch. James expected to hear stories about boredom. Instead, his friend smiled and said, "I finally have time to live at my own pace." That sentence stayed with James, because for the first time, he realized something. He wasn't protecting his future anymore. He was postponing his present. Maybe you've felt that too. Maybe you've said, "I'll do that next year. I'll travel later. I'll spend more time with family after I retire." But life has a quiet habit. Later slowly becomes someday, and someday doesn't always arrive. Here's one sentence I hope you'll remember long after this video ends. Money can grow back, time cannot. That's why retirement planning isn't only about building wealth, it's about protecting the years that wealth was meant to create. This doesn't mean everyone should stop working at 60. Not at all. Many people truly enjoy their work. Some people start businesses, others volunteer, some teach, some mentor younger people. Purpose doesn't retire. Only the paycheck changes. That's an important difference. The goal isn't to stop contributing. The goal is to choose how you contribute. Because choice is the real definition of financial freedom, not a certain dollar amount, not a certain investment account. Choice, the ability to wake up on Monday morning and decide how you want to spend your day. Before we finish, I want to take you back to the beginning. It's Monday morning again. The alarm goes off, but this time, there isn't one. You make your coffee, walk toward the window. The same sunlight fills the room. Only one thing has changed. You're no longer counting the days until freedom. You're living it, not because you became richer overnight, not because the market suddenly went up, because you finally realized something. Your retirement account was never the finish line. It was simply the bridge that carried you to the life you wanted. And bridges aren't built for people to stand on forever. They're built to help people move forward. So, if you're still working after 60, ask yourself one simple question tonight. If money were no longer the reason, how would I choose to spend tomorrow? Your answer may tell you more than your retirement calculator ever could. If this conversation gave you a new way to think about retirement, I'd love for you to come back next week. Here, we're not just talking about money, we're learning how to build a retirement that's actually worth living. Until next time, take care of your future. But don't forget to enjoy the time you're working so hard to protect.